Hi, I'm Mr. Rosengrant, and I have with us today Dr. William Deresiewicz, former Yale professor and author of the book Excellent Sheep, The Miseducation of American Elite, and the Way to a Meaningful Life. Dr. Deresiewicz, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Also in your book, you reference another book that you read called The Drama of the Gifted Child. You talk a little bit about some different parenting styles and some issues that some gifted students might run into with, the way that either if it's how they're pressured by outside forces or just the expectations they put on themselves. I love this part of the book here. You talk about reading the book felt like therapy to you. And it suddenly felt that you saw, as you had for many years, that you were missing your life, that I was missing my chance to be happy, missing my chance to be free. I was also missing something else. The joy that comes when you stop feeling threatened by other people's accomplishments and let yourself be open to the beauty that they bring into the world.
Yeah.
I think I love the way that that's put. Can you talk a little bit about
Sure.
some of those issues that gifted students might run into and that kind of freeing feeling that you felt when you learned to
Sure.
just not compete with everybody, but
Sure.
appreciate what's around you?
I'm glad you asked about that. Most people who interview me about the book don't. That's The Drama of the Gifted Child. It's a famous book. It's a classic book by, I think she was Swiss or German psychotherapist named Alice Miller. It has nothing to do with our American educational system. I think it's from the 70s or 80s. As I said, she's European. But by gifted, I heard the name of that book for a long time, and I thought gifted meant like violin prodigies. She really just means what we would call high achieving students. And as a psychotherapist, a psychoanalyst, she's talking about the family dynamics. The drama of the gifted child is the family dynamics of the high achieving child. I should also say it's a very short book, and the real heart of it is about 20 pages. So you could read it the important part in an hour, and I didn't read it until I was writing Excellent Sheep. I wish I had read it 20, 30 years earlier, because it just lays out in very clearly and forcefully that toxic psychological dynamic between the typical parent of a high achieving student and the kid, which is this pressure to succeed in order to satisfy parental ego, parental narcissism. I said the admissions process was different when I was a kid 40 years ago, but there are a lot of families already like that. And my family was one of them. And there are always a lot of families and more families around. They're often upper middle class, but not only. A lot of immigrant families are like this. Any kind of family can be like this. A family that pressures the student. Basically what it says is love is conditional. I don't want you to be yourself. I don't want you to do your best, although maybe parents will pretend that. I want you to gratify my ego by achieving success. And so I can bask in and take credit for your reflected glory. And that success in America today, and for decades now, has meant in the first instance, admissions to a selective college or university, ideally an Ivy League level university. And it sets up a horrible dynamic also within the student, because you vacillate, you swing back and forth between megalomania. You get the A and you think you are the greatest person in the world and mommy and daddy love you and they tell you that you're the best. And then the next week you get an A-, or God forbid a B+, and your entire ego structure collapses because it's dependent on this constant stream of praise, of self-esteem. I hate that term, self-esteem that's really not self at all. It's really esteem that's constantly pumped in from the parents. And then the thing that you read, which I'm so glad you read, it sets up this horrible feeling of competition, because it is actually a competition. Only one kid can be the best in their high school, right? And graduate first in their high school. Only one kid for many high schools can get into Harvard, or one kid can get into Yale. So your self-worth is also depends on you are constantly comparing yourself to other people. And so you can't acknowledge the value of what they contribute, because to do that diminishes you.
I love how you put in the book too that kind of how parents can sometimes project on their students that when their student gets into a highly selective school, the parent feels like they just got an A+ in parenting.
Absolutely. I think so much of parenting is like that now.
So by reading the book and kind of coming to terms with that, it sounds like that had a big impact on you and kind of was a kind of a weight off your shoulders. What advice would you have to some of our gifted students um, in relation to what they can do to kind of achieve that kind of revelation, that kind of peace in their lives?
It's very hard. I mean, I should say that although I didn't read that book until I was much older, I had the same thoughts for many years. I mean, I swung back and forth, and I knew that what I was doing was wrong, and I felt many times that I'd freed myself from it. I think reading such a powerful account helped me, but I can't say that even to this day that I'm completely free of it. I think I'm much freer than I used to be, and I think that it doesn't govern my choices, which is probably the most important thing. But these patterns get so deeply ingrained in us that I think we have to always fight them. I compare it in the book to, I'm not in Alcoholics Anonymous myself. I have some friends who are, but the whole idea of that program is that you have to go every day. It's not something. It's not a problem that you solve. It's just a problem that you manage. And I think high achieving students are addicted in some probably even literal way to praise, the way an alcoholic is addicted to drinking. So my advice is become aware of this. Become aware that it doesn't have to govern your life. Fight it. Try to fight it internally as best you can. Become aware when you're having those thoughts. And then also, at some point, at some level, if you have parents like this, you need to do battle with those parents. This may not seem very comfortable. I think one of the problems of contemporary parenting, especially in these social strata that we're talking about, is that is this kind of insidious alignment of interests between parents and kids. Like, your parents are your friends. My parents were old world immigrants. You know, I have a lot to blame them for, perhaps unfairly, but one thing I can't blame them for is that they never tried to act like they were my friend. So the lines were very clearly drawn. And I think and I think psychologists would tell you this is the normal, healthy process of growing up. You have to separate from your parents. You have to be estranged from your parents, not permanently estranged, not hatefully estranged, but you have to put distance between yourself and your parents. And that can be a battle. I mean, I think that always is a battle, and it's usually a protracted battle. And it doesn't have to happen with acrimony, but it has to happen. And it's not going to happen from the parents. It has to happen from the young person. They have to, in whatever way and at whatever time, say, listen, this is who I am. This is who I want to be. This is what I want to do. And you're just going to have to live with it. And the secret that parents don't want you to know, and maybe don't know themselves, is that it's the kid who has all the power in that situation. And the parents almost always do learn to live with it, because they need you more than you need them. Doesn't feel that way now, but it's true.
Well, I got to tell you, I really enjoyed reading your book. Excellent Sheep. So I highly recommend it to anyone watching this video. You've given us a lot to think about, and I really appreciate you taking the time to come on the call with me. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this.